Hey everyone, welcome to Vancouver Island Bushcraft. I am at the bivouac. Thought I'd spend a few hours here. It's Sunday and it's a beautiful day. It's supposed to rain today, but it's not looking that it's going to rain. So what have I been doing? I've been here for a little bit. A couple of mosquitoes here today. My pellet gun. This here is my pellet gun. And it is a Benjamin Charger. And it's one of those ones that's got a piston. And in Canada, you actually need a PAL to have this particular pellet gun because the foot per second is almost the same, well, it is the same as a 22. So extremely powerful pellet gun. So one of the reasons why I brought that was to zero it in so that I can use it if I need to hunt birds and stuff. Now, having said that, the reason why I think it's important to have one of these things is I've been doing this bushcraft thing for a little bit now, right? And starting a fire, not a problem. Shelter, not a problem. Acquiring water, whether it's with the grail or boiling, that's not a problem. Now, I have a fair amount of experience in edible plants, but you can't survive solely on that. And trying to find enough plant or animal life to feed on would be very difficult, especially if it was me and my family. Say it was a prep situation and we're in the woods. Even if I got a deer every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or less, I can't feed my family like that. But there's birds everywhere. Literally, they're everywhere. So a pellet gun with a scope zeroed in at say 75 yards to hit something the size of a quarter, you'd be able to acquire 4, 5, 6 birds a day and never run out of ammunition, because you can buy 1,000 rounds at a time in good times and have tens of thousands of rounds and never run out. And B, the amount of birds that are around, you wouldn't actually deplenish the population for a very long time. So it was kind of the missing link when you're out in the woods and you have your provisions. When your provisions run out, shelter, fire, and water, you can pretty much kind of keep going, but it's the food. And I kind of came to the realization that the one food source that we have here on Vancouver Island and pretty much everywhere is birds. And think of it this way, those of you who are on the coast, if you were to go to the coast, we could easily acquire a seagull. That would take nothing to get one of those. And then when we got the seagull, use the guts to acquire crabs. And when we clean the crabs, use the crab guts to acquire the seagull. And you can see how that exponential sort of circle will allow you to feed your family without any problem whatsoever. But even if you're not on the coast, birds are the answer, I think. So I kind of came up with this epiphany a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's the missing link to be able to survive in the woods with your family and be able to feed them without being gone for weeks at a time to try to find a deer. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Any of you have maybe not thought of that, it might be something to think about. Get one of those crazy powerful pellet guns. I got a .177, and this thing, the foot per second is, I think it's 2,200 feet per second, or is it 1,200 feet? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's what a 22 is. It's almost exactly the same. And it'll obliterate anything within 75 to 100 yards. A buddy of mine has one, and he's an avid hunter, and he said one of these would probably take down a deer at 50 yards. Maybe less, maybe 40 yards, something like that. But so I'm having some lunch. I got a fire going, and using the pine that I cut last time. And I got some breakfast sausages on the rock. I put them over the fire to get them blackened, and now I'm baking them over the rock because they're raw. Breakfast sausages are raw; they're not pre-cooked, so I want to make sure they're cooked properly. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. Having some lunch after zeroing in my pellet gun, which took probably an hour. It was really off, yeah, just relaxing and having a great time. What else do I have to say? That's about it right now. All right, sausages are done. I just used the lid for my pot as a small plate. Works good. All right. Really cooked good. Those are tasty. This was my wife's idea. I was just going to have pasta, and she goes, "Why don't you bring some breakfast sausages?" Great idea. The rock bakes them really well. So, yummy. Hey, speaking of catching crabs with seagull guts, a buddy of mine, his name is Mike, really nice guy. He gave me this thing that his father-in-law uses to catch crabs in the ocean, and the family is Cambodian on the wife's side, and basically what he does is he has a bicycle wheel, the metal part of the bicycle wheel, with 4 ropes, all going to a certain point, and then a rope so you can throw the whole thing in the ocean. And in the middle of the wheel, he ties a piece of chicken, or you could use seagull, of course, and puts it into the ocean. And literally, he said he can't leave it in there for any more than 5 or 10 minutes, and there's a crab or 2 on it already. I haven't tried it. He gave me one of those, which is really awesome. I think I'm going to change out the rope for some chain and give it a shot. But he swears by it. He gets crab all the time and basically just puts it in the middle of the wheel, ties it on, of course, the chicken, throws it in the ocean. 10 minutes later, he's got crabs. So I'm going to give it a shot, but that's something that he gave me. I thought I would share with you guys. And if I have a chance, maybe I'll show you guys the whole apparatus. Actually, I'm going to augment it a little bit, and then I'll show it to you. Hey, you guys ever use these shop towels for going out into the bush? They're really resilient. They don't tear very well. And you can use to clean up, like your face or your... I was cleaning up the lid from the sausages and stuff. And what's great is that they're a cloth product, so you can just chuck it in the fire. And you don't have to bring it back and clean it as you would like a hand towel or whatever. I bring 3 pieces of these with me now. I just thought, what a great idea. You have these. You can use it as, you know, something to filter your water from the sediment. You can use it to clean. In a pinch, you could use it as toilet paper. And then when you're done with it, not so much the toilet paper part, just chuck it in the fire and let it burn. So yeah, these shop things. You can actually get these at the dollar store as well, which is kind of cool. And I take 2 or 3 of these, and whenever I need to use a cloth, I got some. Okay, so in my fire, I am burning right now the alder. Now, alder is prevalent here on Vancouver Island, well, pretty much anywhere, I guess. And the way you can tell alder from birch is these little guys right here. If this is like this, it's an alder. And just like basically upside down frowns. You can see there's another one there, another one there. So that's alder, and birch doesn't have that. So I was burning pine, and keep in mind, both of the types that I'm burning are both completely dry, and they're both around this thickness. Okay, so I'm cutting them into 1/8, so quarters, and then again quarters, so 1/8. And when I put the pine on, it burns hot, high, and quickly, and sparks a fairly large amount. Alder takes quite a long time to get going, so your wood's going to last way longer. Your fire's not as hot, and it doesn't spark. So if you need a fire for warmth in the woods, and you don't want your sleeping bag or your whatever to get holes in them from the sparks, pick something like alder, and you don't have to worry about it as much as you would with pine or any other kind of coniferous. They tend to spit quite a bit. So just keep that in mind. Those of you who are just starting bushcraft and maybe don't know the differences, any coniferous one like pine or Douglas fir or cedar or anything like that, they spit. And they're fast burning, really hot fires, and the wood goes through. You go through the wood very, very quickly. Stuff like alder and oak and, you know, all that kind of birch and stuff, they don't burn quite as quickly, and they don't spit. So just FYI. I put these on here. I just got a smoldering fire right now because I'm just kind of doing stuff around the camp, and it's just kind of got a good glow about it. And I can get this fire going in a second. I'll show you. I'll use that new bellows that I got. I used it. The one thing I don't like about the bellows, well, it's not that I don't like it, but is that the hole is so big. If you forget and you breathe in, hang on. you'll suck in some smoke, because that's a fairly big hole, so you can't go, because you'll get smoke and you're basically smoking a pipe. Okay, so I'll show you this, how effective this one is, and it's so long I don't have to even get up from my seat. So watch. So that's the alder, and that's all it takes to get it going. And it'll stay at that level. It won't keep growing and growing and growing like pine would. And this little pile of wood will probably last around an hour or so. So that's good to know. If you're collecting wood, knowing what kind of wood it is will let you know if you have enough wood overnight. So, and this bellows works fantastic. I have no issues with this thing whatsoever. Other than the fact you can't breathe in while you're doing it. But yeah, it works great. Oh, there we go. So one thing I've changed with the stones is this metal right here was out here, and when the fire is going really good here, I don't have access to this here. I actually cut off my own access by having this out here. So today I took this and put it right back, so now I have really good access to the stone, and I turned this one around so it's perfectly flat. So now I have the warming rack and the thing, and I have way more access, because I actually burnt myself on this last time because it was so far out, and then the fire was here. I didn't have any way of getting the food that was on there. So, and this thing also makes a great pointing thing. Take a look over here. Take a look over here. Well, that's about it. I'm going to be heading out pretty soon. The fire is pretty much dead. I'll be putting that out with dirt and water in a couple minutes. The amount of time I was here was probably 3 hours, and I used 2 of these cedar blocks cut in 1/8 and 1 of these alder blocks cut in 1/8, and that's the amount of wood I used for 3 hours. So extrapolating that amount, you're looking at pretty much 1 of these every hour. A little less for the pine, but definitely 1 of these cut in 1/8 per hour. So definitely something to think about. The rock is something I think I'm going to keep here, because this thing is working really, really well. It's like super hot right now, and you'd be able to cook anything you want to on it. So I think on an overnighter it's going to be really handy, because I can do potatoes and all sorts of fun stuff on there, maybe some asparagus, and it'd be kind of fun to do that kind of thing. So I'm going to call it. I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish today, which was zeroing in the pellet gun, and of course just relaxing and having a little bit of lunch. And glad you guys come along with me. Thank you so much for subscribing if you have. If you haven't, please hit the subscribe button, share and like, and I'll talk to you next time on Vancouver Island Bushcraft.